go ahead and get started. It looks like the number of attendees are kind of flattening out. Maybe we'll get a few more people as we go here, but welcome everyone. And Ron and I are excited to be here. We've kind of handpicked a couple of Autodesk University sessions that we thought were pretty cool, and we're going to talk about them. And if you guys didn't get a chance to watch them, it'll maybe give you something to go and search out and take a look at. So Ron and I will be kind of teaming up on this one. I know this is kind of unusual. We don't do this very often in an Infrastructure Tuesday, but we thought it would be fun to kind of have a couple of us, a little more interesting than just listening to one of us the whole time. So, but all right, Ron, if you want to click us over there. So this is our team. Most of you probably, a lot of you have probably met quite a few members of our team, but we have Aaron Powell. He's a senior technical specialist. We have Michael Gaines, who's also a senior technical specialist. We have Doug Benoit, who is a senior technical specialist, and Brian Smith, who is our cloud solutions specialist. And then, of course, myself and Ron. And just a little bit about me. I am also a senior technical specialist with U.S.CAD. And just so you know, I just hit my 20th anniversary with U.S.CAD. So I was pretty excited about that. Yeah, the end of October, I was pretty excited about that. So, but you can see just a little bit of my industry experience here. I spent a lot of time working with, different softwares. I'm AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Map 3D, CAD and BIM management, and licensing specialist. So it's just a little bit about me there. You're welcome to email me if you have any questions. You can see my email there, which is katie.king@uscad.com.
Awesome, Katie, thanks. And just a little bit about me for those that haven't met me before. I am what they call a solutions consultant. It's just another title. Katie and I do pretty much the same thing. Katie's been around in AutoCAD a little longer than I have. My first release was release 12 in the DOS days, but my background is civil design. I've been a designer, a CAD manager, a red line picker-upper. I've been all that. So that's just a little bit about me. But like Katie said, we're excited to tag team this together. And we will kind of ping pong back and forth between Katie and I, but we're super excited to be here and do this presentation for you. So a little bit about U.S.CAD webinars. If you ever miss a webinar, you can go to uscad.com and look in the video vault. All of these presentations are recorded, so you can view these at a later time. So keep that in mind. Infrastructure Universe, one of the best slings since sliced bread, right? It's a great resource for you. It's a great newsletter. If you haven't signed up for it, check out the link below. If you have any questions about these links, you can always email myself or Katie afterwards, and we can go ahead and send you these links. But there you have it. Infrastructure Tuesdays. Hey, that's what we're doing right now, right? So how cool is this? We get to be in U.S.CAD's living room, basically, and you get to talk to characters like Katie and myself. So definitely go ahead and look at our website and get signed up for Infrastructure Tuesdays. For your knowledge, these are some of the offices, actually all of the offices that we have around the country. There it is in tabular form for those of you that like Excel better than pictures. And let's just talk about today's goal, what we intend to accomplish today. Very simple goal. This is a ginormous list, so I hope you can stay with us while we go through all these goals. Goal number 1, discuss GIS items learned from AU. Goal number 2, discuss grading optimization and Project Explorer items learned from AU. So I hope I didn't lose anybody on that big list. So with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to Katie.
All right, awesome. So I picked GIS as my topic, and so the things I ended up with are kind of loosely GIS, but that's okay, I think. If you want to go ahead and give me the next slide, Ron. So this first one, I'm going to tell you guys, this was an industry talk, and this was more about multidisciplinary, but it did include GIS, so I kind of figured out it was game for it. I was completely impressed with this presentation. Let me just give you the overview of what these guys did. These are two guys from Russia, Alexander and Alexei. And they had basically a, like say, an industry talk or an in-case situation. There was a city in Russia called, and if I slaughter this, it is what it is, but the name of the city is Nizhny Novgorod. That's as good as I can get. But if you want to see it for sure, we'll be sharing the links to these talks later at the end of the session so that you can grab those links and actually watch the talk for yourself. But what they did in this city, these guys work as consultants, but they also work at the local university. And a couple of years ago, they started a project where they were having like the students at the local university build like the whole site for the university in a BIM model. So that's obviously a combination of GIS and Revit and other products that they were using to build this BIM model for the university. And they had this idea that they would take one and build one of these for this entire city because they were an 800-year anniversary for this particular city. Obviously, that's a really old city. We don't see that, that type of age, here in the U.S. Very often, but that's a pretty old city. And what they wanted to do there, some of their concerns were they were worried that this city, which has a lot of historical buildings and historical like parks and landmarks, they were worried about the loss of these items in case of fire because they do have a lot of wood built buildings there. And they also had another concern in Russia that there is a huge lack of BIM and GIS specialists. So this was another concern of theirs, and these kind of don't seem like they fit together, but they do. You'll see here in a second. They also had concerns with if they wanted to do this city in a model that they would have to be dealing with remote work, and if they were going to train people, the training had to be no cost. There was no, they just don't have people, the budget, people don't have budget for paying for training there. So, oops, and my, looks like my slide did a little funny thing, but their goal was to solve all these problems at once. So here's what they did, which I thought was just ultimately so cool. You can go ahead and pop this forward. This is the actual model. I just wanted to show you guys what they built. It's amazing what they did here. But what they did is they went out and they advertised that were looking for people that would receive free training in exchange for helping build these designs. So they crowdsourced this thing. They don't ever use the word crowdsource, but that's exactly what they did. So they had, go ahead and click to the next page there, Ron. They had a, well, you can leave it on this page, but I want to talk about for a second. They had over 2,400 people respond from all over Russia and into Europe. I think they said 9, I can't remember how many countries it was. It was probably like 9 countries or something. I can't remember exactly. I have some of the data a little bit later, but and so they started with these 2,400 people and it weeded out. Obviously, as you know, some people are going to drop pretty quick when they realize what the extent of what they have to do to get free training. In the end, they ended up with just under 600 people who took it all the way through to the end. And but they still ended up with people that build over 1,500 people participated in building models. And so what they did is they started by collecting initial data. They did aerial LiDAR scanning. They had existing Autodesk InfraWorks and AutoCAD data, just kind of basic CAD files. Then they combined that data using InfraWorks and Civil 3D and Recap. And then if you'll go to the next page, Ron. And then they did zone creation. They had I don't know that this product even exists, but apparently they had an Autodesk map info. I know that's been replaced highly by most people are using the Esri GIS, but there are some people with the Autodesk map info, and that they're one of those people. And they took all those city zones and they allocated to different teams of modelers. Whether that was, Civil 3D GIS, they basically created teams of those people together. So like Revit modelers and people who could do the GIS stuff and people who could do like the civil 3D, all of that together. And then they did Revit modeling. They synced project coordinates. They imported topo services into Revit. They worked in shared spaces. Surprisingly, because they had to have a no budget option, they couldn't use, obviously, the Autodesk product line for that, although they had a lot of support from Autodesk on this project. Autodesk gave them, all the software that they used was educational software. And Autodesk gave them educational software for that purpose, so that software wasn't an issue. But what they didn't have, and maybe because of the timing, I think they did this about a year ago or whatever, 2 years ago, but they used Dropbox for sharing, which that's a huge kudos right there just to make that one work. So, but they did their Clash and 4D modeling in Navisworks, and then they did rendering through like the Autodesk products, A360, and then a product called Lumion. So it was pretty impressive. What was impressive to me the most about this was that these are just two guys, and they're not being paid money to do this. They're using, they tapped into resources all around Russia and across the country to bring in people and teach them. So remember, one of their challenges or concerns was that there's a lack of BIM and GIS people and all of these types of people in Russia and even in Europe close to them. So one of their goals really was to really help people be more knowledgeable, to get more BIM and GIS people in their country. So amazing, just amazing. Blew my mind that they even took this on. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Anyway, go ahead and click on to the next slide there. So this is just an example of some of the close-up detail. They did some real detail. They modeled parks. They modeled buildings, and what's crazy is that like these buildings were all like in a zone by team, and they even had like bicycles on the streets, and some areas where there's very historic like light fixtures, outdoor light fixtures, they had those. They did all this by scanning the LiDAR aerial scanning, and then they built these models out from there. As it just blew my mind, all the detail that they actually managed to bring in. Go ahead and click forward there, Ron. So these are just some of the statistics. 2,000 plus people received new skills. 549 people went all the way through the entire training. Over 800 buildings were created. GIS, BIM, and SIM data was created. Over 1,000 people collaborated using Autodesk solutions for this city scale project. And this model is now a major source of data on the city's 3D web portal. I can't even say how impressed I was. It was just training all these people. And what they did on the training, and there's more detail in their presentation, but they did YouTube streaming videos to train people. So I was like, wow, it was just really cool. And then they had all those recordings and people could access those for free. And then, but I was just completely impressed with this. Is that my last page for this one, Ron? Yep, it is. Okay.
Okay. Excellent. That was pretty cool, Katie. Appreciate that. All right, I'm going to leave the PowerPoint here, and I'm just going to go over to Civil 3D and talk about a couple of areas that I pulled out of AU, which was grading optimization and the Project Explorer. I've got 3 classes that I went through and got information for, which, like Katie said at the end, we'll go ahead and put those in the chat. But I'm going to start off with grading optimization. For those that haven't seen grading optimization and don't know what it could do, I'm not going to go through a click and pick of grading optimization. I will show you a few things here and there, but I want to show you basically what you can get with grading optimization, and also discuss some of the tidbits that I got from these classes, because I'm telling you, some of these classes, most informative sessions that I've been in, it really hits the mark for customized training sessions and things of that nature, because you get to pull some things out that you might not normally get. So that's the avenue I'm going to take with you this morning, this afternoon for some of you, is basically what I got out of these sessions. So the first one was the Handyman's Guide to Grading. This one was an awesome class. The presenter did a really good job on showing workflows, how he actually uses grading optimization. And that's where I got the most tips and tricks from. The other class, which was grading optimization, Civil 3D 2022 residential development success. It's a great class if you're getting into grading optimization for the first time and you want a clicks and picks type of tour, and it'll take you all the way through the project that they have. This first class will do the same thing though, but in my opinion, between the two, this first class that I'm going to talk about, I got more tips and tricks out of it. So I'm going to talk to you about what some of those tips and tricks are. First things first though, with grading optimization, for those that have not seen it, you can go to your Analyze tab of the ribbon and you'll see that there's a grading optimization panel on the far right side of that Analyze tab. And this is where you have all the buttons for grading optimization, okay? And basically what it is, when I click on grading objects here, it opens the grading objects browser, as well as a tab on your tool palettes for grading objects, okay? So for those that haven't seen grading optimization, it's a great way to get a preliminary design knocked out, okay? Each one of these object types has the ability to put parameters into them. And the big thing for you guys today on these grading objects is with the 2022.1 update, retaining wall. It's a brand new object that you can put on your project for grading optimization. So that is pretty darn cool. There is an Autodesk video up on YouTube. I believe it's John Sayer from Autodesk kind of shows how that works. It's a pretty nice thing. It really is. So with that being said though, okay, I see this huge list of things, you know, what do I do? Drag and drop, what do I do? And what am I ultimately gonna get? Well, let me pause it there real quick and just show you an example of one that I did on this same site here, where I've got my red line as my grading limits. Once I went through the grading optimization and got it complete, then the ultimate goal was to get a new design surface out of grading optimization. You can see the results here on the screen. This entire site got graded out, and then you can see the edges of the grading merged in. So this was a very simplistic example of what you could get with grading optimization. But I just wanted to show that for those that had not seen grading optimization yet. So with that being said, I'm going to talk about some of the tips and tricks that I pulled out of this class called The Handyman's Guide to Grading Optimization. I actually downloaded a drawing from his data set because one of the tips that he talked about was a workflow tip, which I thought was amazing. I guess if I had a poll or something like that, I could, or if I was right in front of you, I could ask a question and see how many hands would go up. How many people would typically be using a site plan that they're getting ready to apply some grading to? How many people would use hatching? I don't think a lot of hands are going to go up, right? You're probably going to use hatching for exhibits, things of that nature, you know, what we tend to call the artsy fartsy stuff, make it pretty, right? But how many people would actually do that for this type of plan? Well, this author or presenter did, and I thought it was amazing how he utilized this in his workflow. And basically what he did, I'll show you this, Each color over here represents things like he's got paved areas, he's got landscape areas, he's got a building footprint, okay? Basically all types of things that you could apply grading objects to. So what he did that I thought was so cool was he came over to his legend here and he clicked on the polyline that is the border for the hatch. And then he did a simple AutoCAD, and Katie, you'll love this because remember how cool this was when it came out. Did a simple right click and select similar. Now he's got all of his landscaping selected. Why is this important? Because in grading optimization, you have to select the objects that you want to apply a grading object to. So by doing this means he's able to go in there and not only does it look great, but with the hatch boundary, he can use that as a multiple selector. So I thought his choice on this workflow was interesting because not only is he going to be able to apply grading to this, but he's also got an exhibit of the site plan working. And by having hatches in his drawing, he's actually really making it easy to select objects. So check it out. I'll show you how this works because it can save a ton of time with the results on your grading optimization. So if I go into grading objects, for example, and I'm also going to show you another trick that made his workflow really interesting. And what that was, we've got the different grading objects on our palette. And if you look through the names here, you can see a lot of the common culprits, right? Ponds and sidewalks and parking lots and things of that nature. But one thing he pointed out was there's no landscape area. And what about if I wanted to have my own landscape criteria for grading objects? How could I possibly do that here? Well, it's something so simple, it's Geico territory, right? A caveman could do it. When he showed this, I was like, why didn't I think of that? Right? You ever had one of those moments where somebody shows something so simple and you're like, I should have thought of this. What he did was he went over to the zone here and he did a copy on the zone, and then he did a paste. And then on this paste, he went into properties. And come on, properties, you can do it. Come on. It's like the little engine that could, right? There we go. He went ahead and put in the name that he wanted, like landscaping zone or something along those lines. Then on the slope, instead of using global constraints, he set up to use customized slope constraints. And then he went in here, I think, if I remember right, he did like a 40% for the max and a 1% for the minimum. So then he says, okay here, and check it out. You've just added a new grading object to your tool palette, which, like I said, so simple a caveman could do it, but I was just amazed how that could save a ton of time in the future. And to apply this, what he did, like I showed you guys before, selected his outline, then did a right click, select similar, so that all the landscape objects could be selected. And then by clicking on the landscape zone that's in his tool palette, just like that, grading was applied to multiple zones at once. So there's my next tip. I didn't know that could be done. I thought you had to select, right? Yeah, I thought you had to select one zone at a time. So when he did that, I'm sitting there looking at his grading objects browser and I'm like, whoa, he just did 9 grading objects all at once just by using some AutoCAD functionality. How cool is that? So yeah, just some simple things. And I was totally amazed with that. Another thing that he talked about, which some of you, if you've gotten in here, you're probably aware of this. but I didn't know this could be done. And that's with the curb tool. You can actually flip the curb to the other side. So in other words, you know how if you're looking at a typical cross section for a street, you've got the gutter line flowing down, it goes up to the crown of the road, that type of thing. Well, if you're doing something more like a median or something like that, and you need to flip the curb to the other side, you can go ahead and do that with this grading object. So I was blown away with that one. I didn't even know you could flip the curb in this. But ultimately, like I said before, the desired output from all of this stuff, if I go back to the grading optimization complete real quick, I'll go ahead and show you this. Uh, Once your optimization has been done, you have the ability to take that grading and create a brand new surface in Civil 3D or merge it into an existing surface that you already have. So just to show you what I did on this particular example, I'm going to close my grading objects real quick. What I did was I outlined my site, okay, and then I did another outline on the outside for the grading limits, and I generated 2 drain lines, okay? Now, a couple of things about these grading objects, the majority of them must be closed geometry. So things like zones, grading limits, ponds, things of that nature, they must be closed geometry, okay? But drain lines must be open geometry. And the reason for that is drain lines, it's basically line work where you're telling the software where the direction that you want to drain to. So let me see, if I go back to this first drawing, I believe what I did for drain lines in this one was basically I drew a couple of polylines down, or I say down, but it's actually on the north side of the site. It's actually draining from south to north based on the contours here. So basically the drain lines just tell Civil 3D where to drain to. Overall, the nice thing about grading optimization though is that you're not really generating 3D items. I mean, you can with some of the grading objects that we have, like a building pad, for example. If I were to look at the properties on a building pad, it doesn't have to be 3D, but you can actually give it an elevation if you want to. And you can see here, there's depth of material, level grading is on. You can turn that off. And then, like I said before, elevation. Okay, so other than that, really, if you have a surface, you define your limits, the area that you want graded. There's other things that you can do though if you want to get more into it. Like what I'm showing is if I just wanted mass grading on this whole site, but in the class that was done, they graded this whole area. They did separate landscape, they did a building pad, they did sidewalks as a separate object, they did all the pavement as a separate object, they even identified a pond, and the presenter kind of joked that that might not be the best location for a pond, but you get the idea. So those are the things that I learned. A couple more notes, and then Katie, I'll let you finish off on your items on GIS. One of the things that they mentioned, the order that grading zones are put in is important because there's actually a priority. The last one in controls constraints that are applied to that area. So you're going to want to make sure that you add things in a chronological type order based on how grading optimization, or I guess the cool kids are calling it GO now, I don't know, but because grading optimization is kind of a mouthful. And the other thing was, like I said, the copy paste zone on palette and then renaming it for further use. So those are some of the things that I pulled out of AU this year for grading optimization.
All right, Ron, that was awesome. So I was going through different AU sessions and trying to see, what was related the most to GIS. And I ran across this session, which necessarily isn't what you would call a true GIS session, but I was thinking about this a couple weeks ago, and I thought this is definitely a session that I thought was timely. Um, Autodesk has had this product called Raster Design, and it's been around for years and years and years. It even had another name before it was called Raster Design. It's as old as AutoCAD Map, maybe even older. It's a very old product. But one of the things that I truly believe is that there are two very unused products for people who have an own Civil 3D or have like the suite, a collection of products. And one of those is AutoCAD Map. And last month I did a session on using transforming planning with GIS, features inside of Civil 3D or using AutoCAD Map. So AutoCAD Map is definitely one of the, everybody has it and they don't use the features enough. But this is the other one. Almost everyone owns Raster Design. Whether if you have an AEC collection, it's included with it. If you have an AutoCAD collection, what do they call it? The AutoCAD with multiple tool sets. If you have the AutoCAD with the tool sets, you also own this product. And what I found is that most people don't know they can even install this, or that they have it, or they don't use it. And what this product can do, so I'm going to give kudos to R.K. McSwain. He is a long time kind of Augie and AU kind of guy. He's been around at AU for a while. But he created a session called Discovering the Mysteries of AutoCAD Raster Design. Now, one of the reasons I picked this one was because I thought this was a great little session that you all could use as a training tool for your users for Raster Design. He gives about 40 minutes worth of information on how to use Raster Design, just the starting up of it, just like how to do basic tasks. And it would be enough to get your users going if they need to use this. So what can it do? What is Raster Design? Raster Design is a photo editor inside of AutoCAD. And it does, and the reason I brought this under GIS, because it does two things. It can basically take any aerial, and even if you have AutoCAD, not AutoCAD Map or Civil 3D, but if you just had plain AutoCAD, it makes plain AutoCAD work as a GIS tool. It can automatically bring in aerials and lay them correctly in their right location and coordinates. So even if somebody has plain AutoCAD, this Raster Design gives them a little boost on that. So not only can it take an aerial, but if you have an aerial that doesn't have coordinates to it, like it's missing its coordinate system, this can actually let you position it in the right coordinate system, and then you can save a coordinate system file or the coordinate system details and embed them into the photo. So this can actually edit a photo to give you geo-referenced photos. It can take a non-geo-referenced photo and make it into a geo-referenced photo. So that's one of the things it can do. The other big thing that it can do is take any scanned imagery. So if you have like old CAD files and you need to scan not even CAD, like old files that you have no CAD for, this is what I meant. So any file that you don't have CAD for, you can take that photo and then you can bring it in using Raster Design, and then it has a ton of features in it. Ron, if you want to go to the next page. So in case you haven't seen Raster Design before, it can spatially insert, manage, and view images. It can edit and clean up raster images. So like, if you look at those old photos of scan stuff, how they have like little speckles all over them because of like pencil rubs or marks or things like that, or just dust or whatever, or blueprint marks from like old blueprints that they've scanned old blueprints. This software can actually manipulate the raster image and rub out or remove speckling, and or literally even just edit the actual photo. So instead of you recreating the whole drawing, you can just rub out what you don't want and then draw new stuff over the top of it. So kind of cool. It can also do raster to vector conversions, including OCR, optical character recognition. So if you have a bunch of like a photo, you know, whether it's a JPEG or a TIFF, a lot of stuff is in TIFFs. It can look at that and scan all the text and convert it to actual AutoCAD text. So you don't have to completely retype all the text. And then of course the raster entity manipulation. This software also has the capability to auto trace and do create contours from penciled contours or from these scanned contours. So you can like click on the top of a contour and then move your mouse along it and it'll generate the contour. And then it'll let you assign an elevation to that polyline that's generated. So it's a pretty neat little tool. This isn't, like I said, this is a really old product, and it's people don't really give it enough credit for what they can do with it. It should be just another tool in your toolbox, right? So once you have this product installed, it just goes in your Civil 3D. You don't have to start it up separately. If you have Civil 3D, AutoCAD Map, whatever you're running, it'll add a new tool called Raster Tools, I believe it is, on your ribbon. And then you can get all of the functions in there. And something cool that this guy showed me that I actually didn't know, they added a palette for this tool to manage the images that you're working with and some of the content you're working with in there. So I didn't know this, but Raster Design has its own palette. I thought I knew all the palettes, but there we go. So anyway, pretty cool thing. It has a lot of great information. So I thought this would be a good thing for you guys to share with your teams if you guys need to learn some Raster Design just to to help with your projects. So thank you. I'll turn it back over to Ron.
Excellent. Thanks, Katie. So I'm going to jump back into Civil 3D real quick and talk about Project Explorer. So picked up, I shouldn't say picked up, I actually watched a class on Project Explorer, and this was called Project Explorer Constant Companion 2021. And tell you what, it's another one of those things, if you haven't seen Project Explorer, it is the bomb. It's awesome. And a few things I picked up on it I'll talk about, but I'll first go ahead and open up Project Explorer. For those that have not seen it or gotten into it, it's basically an interface that gives you one window, if you will, for all of your civil objects with a ton more power than what the prospector can give you. It has a viewer in it. It has different tabs for the different types of civil objects. It's even got a feature line editor tab, which allows you to see problems with your feature lines and things of that nature. So it does come with the AEC collection. And even if you don't have the AEC collection, you'll see a button for it. Unfortunately, though, it's a separate install, so it has to get you have to get it from the what used to be called the subscription center, your account, Autodesk account. You have to download it and install it. But I'm telling you, this is one of those things. When Autodesk comes out with new things, sometimes you're kind of like, oh, that's cool. This rocks because of all the power that it gives you. And some of the things that I learned from this class, a guy named Russ Nickloy did the class, and very knowledgeable Civil 3D person. But some of the things that I learned, I mean, I knew that I could go ahead and select something like an alignment, for example, right? I mean, okay, so great, Ron, I can see you selected an alignment and I can see the profile for that alignment in the viewer. That's all well and fine, but believe it or not, one little detail, and I'm kind of embarrassed to say that I never noticed this before, was when I have an alignment selected and I go down to the bottom of Project Explorer here, notice the line interval. I didn't even realize that was an adjustable item. I mean, I thought it was just, oh, this is how it comes. Look at the stationing here. Right now it's every 25. What if I needed more detail here? Could I actually type in a 10 and hit enter? And the answer to that is yes, because then it restations for you. But I did, yeah, plus 10. There we go. Okay, so I can do whatever interval I want. If I need less detail, I can put in 50, and then it goes every 50. So I didn't even know you could do that. Now I'm embarrassed to say that's pretty sad, Katie. I don't know. I should have known that, but I thought that was pretty darn cool. A couple of other things that Russ talked about, which once again, I'm embarrassed that I didn't know this, because whenever I instruct Civil 3D, I talk to people about the power of the right click, right? Whether you're in Civil 3D, whether you're in plain AutoCAD, the power of the right click. Well, here's the source of my embarrassment. I didn't even realize that inside here I could right click on like an alignment, for example. And look at all the power I get with the right click. I can add this to an object set, okay, for calculated stations. I can do these quick reports. I can send a report to a file for calculated stations. An AutoCAD table. What? Are you kidding me? I saw an instructor do an AutoCAD table once, but I was like, I missed something. Well, how did he do that? So I'll right click. Are you freaking kidding me? That's awesome. And then if you have to dumbify your objects, right? I can do a quick export to 2D to an AutoCAD DWG file. Had no clue I could do this stuff on a right click. I thought I had to press a button somewhere, right? Set the descriptions, the alignment styles. Are you kidding me? Well, if I can do all this right click stuff, then I bet dollars to donuts I could hold my shift key down and select multiple things. And look at that. I can't do it. What I did was I accidentally clicked on the name, and I'm trying to change it here. But that's just because I'm having some display issues during the live webinar. But yeah, I was so shocked to see all of these right click options. And I mean, it's a ton of power. You know, if I take a look at pipes real quick, for example, and I click on, this is taking a little while to come up, but once I click on a pipe network, I can see the entire run, right? I can see structures down the bottom here. I can see pipes down the bottom, and I can see the entire pipe run. So pretty cool, because you've got all your data right in the one vista, and we can make changes here as needed, which is just phenomenal to me. Also, check this out. I guess in all the presentations I had seen before, and with some of the drawings that I'd used before, I didn't realize you could see your pipe network violations right here. Well, this one has more violations than you can stick a shake at. So notice I've got the, what I like to call the Civil 3D badge of shame in there, right? My orange little triangle there. When I hover over these, I can see the Civil 3D badge of shame, and I can see all of the violations of the rules that we have with our pipe network. So that's pretty cool. So bottom line, you can do so much with this. You can get reports spit out, you can edit objects, you can do all kinds of things with it. And the final thing that I learned on this that I thought was so cool, I'd seen this done before, but it never really sunk in. If I click the layout button, I can actually change the columns that are displayed. So if there's specific columns that I don't want to see, or maybe one thing Civil 3D does all the time right out of the box is it likes to put easting before northing, right? If I want to change that, I can use the arrows on the side, and I can customize all this the way I want, and then I can turn around and I can save this out. So the one thing that Russ talked about that I really pulled out of the layouts here is the fact that I could comprise or configure different layouts for different situations and then save them out with different names. Things like if I'm trying to do a project stakeout and I need station and offset reports and things of that nature, I can configure my layout different than if I just want to look at a PI report or something like that. So really, Russ did a great job showing me, showing everybody, it wasn't just me, right? Showing everybody the ins and outs of Project Explorer. And I really pulled out some interesting tidbits. Okay, so let's see, am I sure? I'll say yes to this, and I'm gonna get out of Project Explorer. And I think we're looking at, I usually like to end 10 or 15 minutes beforehand to see if we can answer some questions. So before we go into that mode, Katie, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, but I'm going to go ahead and paste my 2 sessions that I found in the chat. There's
Excellent.
one, and then here's the other one of mine. So there's my 2. You should be able, everybody should be able to see those, and you're welcome to copy and paste those out or click on them so you have the web pages.
Yep, and I'm gonna toss mine in there real quick as well. Let me hit send. Those are the first 2 for the grading optimization. And next, I'm going to send you the one that I talked about from Russ on Project Explorer. So let me go ahead and paste that in and then hit send. Okay, so those are all in the chat now. With that said, let's talk about our agenda again real quick. Katie did a masterful job of discussing GIS items as she learned from AU. Awesome project. That was very interesting, Katie. And I talked about the grading optimization and Project Explorer items. As you could see, we were both passionate about what we saw. AU is just, it rocks, it always has, even virtual, and we pulled out some pretty good information for it, okay? So we'd like to open it up for questions, and usually what I do, and this might be a surprise for you, Katie, I'm putting your email address right up there for everyone to
I do it
consume
too. It's okay.
along with mine. So if you guys have any questions offline or after this presentation, please reach out to either one of us. Be more than happy to help you out. Katie and I do a lot of collaboration as well. Sometimes I'll get a question. It's like, Katie, what would you do? And Katie will do the same thing with me sometimes. Hey, I got this question. What would you do? So I'm telling you, you're in great hands. If you have any questions, send them to either one of us, and we'd be more than happy to help you out. So with that, let's open it up for questions. See if we have any questions coming in. Let's see. I thought I saw a hand go up for a second there.
There is a questions like pod in the meeting, so you can click on that questions pod and then type a question if you have something in particular.
And somebody had asked earlier, so I answered it about, will this be recorded? Yes, it is being recorded. This will be posted. And typically, if you go ahead and sign up for Infrastructure Tuesday, I believe emails go out with those links as well. But give it a few days. If you don't see anything, reach out to one of us and we'll help you out.
All right. Well, you know, if like Ron just said, if you guys have anything that comes up, let us know. We're happy to answer any questions. And also, where's the Raster Design? I see a question that just came in from Enrique. Where's the Raster Design tool set located? And it is in the when you open up Civil 3D or Map or AutoCAD, it has a tab on the ribbon that says Raster Tools. If you want to install it and you don't have it installed, it is a core product that's included with pretty much with every AEC collection and any AutoCAD with tool sets. They don't sell that product separately anymore. They used to, but they don't anymore. So you'd have to have either one of those products to have it. Once you install it, it installs automatically on top of every AutoCAD-based product for that version. So if you have Civil 3D 2022 installed, and you install the Raster tools, it'll install on top, and you'll see a tab in the ribbon that has those tools in there. So pretty helpful. He also does, in that AU session, he does go through and show you where the tools are in that ribbon and how to get to them. So.
And I don't think that product has changed since like 08, Katie. I know I've still got like an 08 training manual, and it's still valid today. I can use it.
Did they have
Teach
the
everybody.
palette?
Well, the palette was one thing that I believe is an addition. Looks like your video froze, Katie.
Outside of that, you're really changed. I don't know if you guys can hear me. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you guys still hear me?
Oh, looks like we lost Katie there for a second, but she'll
Can you hear
probably go
me?
ahead and, yep, can hear you now.
Am I back?
Let's see. I
Okay, I had
can
to
hear
just
your
stop sharing my
audio.
webcam. I don't know. I lost my internet took a dive a little bit. As long
No,
as you
I
can hear
hear
my
you.
audio, I'm just going to leave my webcam unshared for now because I think it was slowing me down. So anyway, for that Raster Design tool set, I think you'll find that it's, you know, definitely, like Ron was saying, it's an older product, but there's a lot of stuff that are very, you know, very helpful items in there. So you know, don't hesitate to install it if you don't have it installed, and open your Civil 3D and see if you have a Raster Tools tab. You know, you can also just click on the Windows Start icon and then just start typing Raster Design to see if you actually have it installed on your computer, because it'll come up as Raster Design, whatever version on AutoCAD or Civil 3D or whatever. So anyway.
Katie, it looks like David has a question. He's asking, an image has to have coordinates associated with it to be placed in the correct position, correct?
So it would need to, in order for it to be automatically positioned. If it doesn't have coordinates associated with it, you could manually position it. So move it to the coordinate that you know it's supposed to be at, scale it, tweak it, whatever. And then Raster Design is capable of saving the coordinates to the file. Or it can make, what do they call those? The world files.
A world file, yeah.
It can do either an embedded photo coordinate, or it can do a world file as well. The TFW, I believe it is. So.
As a matter of fact, since we talked about it, I'll go ahead and click on the Raster
Oh, there you go,
tool
Ron.
here. And
That's awesome.
there is your world file button that Katie was talking about right there. So something I like to show people even in Civil 3D, because it's like, you know, like Katie said, it's such an ignored piece of software that's been around forever, and it gives you so much functionality, really does.
Excellent. Thank you, Ron. That's beautiful right there to have that screen, you know, that on the screen right there. I'm glad you had it installed. Awesome.
Anyone else? Oh, and I think you answered Enrique's question, correct? Yeah, where the tool set was located. Enrique, if you're still on, well, here's that tab that Katie was talking about. It's just a tab called Raster Tools.
Any other questions?
Doesn't look like we're getting any other questions. Don't be shy, guys. We got just a few more minutes. If you have any questions on either what Katie covered between GIS and Raster Design, or anything about grading optimization or Project Explorer, don't be shy. That's what we're here for. All right, Katie, tell you what if we give them to another minute or so here, and then we'll go ahead and end the webinar. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. All right. Not seeing anything else, but like we said, we'll, oh, there's another one.
How to install Raster Design if the tab is not there. Go to your Autodesk account. If you have your, you should have your, now, Ron, show this from the start down in the bottom right corner on your Windows taskbar. Show that little A with the, yeah, there you go. Your Autodesk desktop app. If you have that Autodesk desktop app, and then you just do a search, if you click on the top button in the left side, the one that looks like a square with three little
Oh.
dots on it on the from the, yeah, your other left. And then inside of that, there's a search, little magnifying glass, and your other box is kind of almost covering it up. But if you just click that, minimize it, and then click on the search.
Oh, it's like it's stuck,
Is it
Katie.
stuck? Yeah.
It's stuck.
So
There we go.
there it goes. So that little search magnifying glass right there, if you just type Raster Design in there, you'll be able to find the product, and you should be able to install, except you need a G. There you go.
I was going to say you need to spell it right.
Yeah, there you go. So see, there's the product. Now he's already got it installed, but if you didn't have it installed and you have access to this, depending on your situation, if you work for a city or a government organization, you may not have access to this tool. And in that case, you may need to ask somebody from your IT department to install it for you. It is an additional install. Everybody owns it. I'm going to tell you, you guys all own AEC Collection. If you own AEC Collection or you own AutoCAD with Toolsets Collection, this is a product that's included with it. So you can go ahead and install it that way.
Yep, and that's good stuff.
And it's also up in your Autodesk account as well if you'd rather use the online, Autodesk account. This is basically the same thing, but if you don't, if you have access to that. You would need to have local admin privileges, obviously, to install software on your computer.